What prompted me to start recording today, right? I tried this on my phone. It wasn't very good, so had to break out the old good old recorder again. So here's some stuff that's been kind of weighing on my mind for a bit, right? I think we live in the era of dumb. I think previous generations probably said the same thing about other generations, but I think this is truly the era of dumb. I was in Angry Man's stream the other day, and the funniest comment to me came across the screen, I think about 2/3 of the way through the whole live. So at 2/3 of the way through the live, um, the Black Anomaly, he wrote, "Beyond dumb niggas." Beyond dumb niggas. Like beyond meat. You got some people that's going above and beyond for a special type of dumb. And I thought that was very profound because this is what we're doing now. We got some folks in our community who are absolutely praising people for being stupid. And then they're cheering each other on like it's a damn contest. And I just think it's hilarious. But at the same time, it's dangerous to everybody else around them. Because these are the same people with voting power. And if they think their great dumb idea is a good one, they'll convince other dummies to follow along. And there lies the rub. We can't get shit done because a majority of black folks are stupid. Yes, I said it. A majority of black folks are stupid. And if anyone says otherwise, they're a fucking joke. You don't get a high single mother rate doing you don't get a high single mother rate from smart people. Because smart people know that having a bunch of children messes with your prospects. Smart women know having the wrong man's baby will hurt your prospects in the future. Smart people know to keep their sexual exploits to themselves. Because no matter what you do, higher level society still frowns upon sexual immorality, especially if it's not behind closed doors. But here we are, dumb ass Negroes. Now, I'm not saying this because I hate, the color of my skin or I hate the black community in general. No, I hate what it's become. I hate that people continue to advertise it like it's the greatest shit ever. Like all this shit is supposed to be all good, and yet we're getting the worst results. You're talking about men and women on the freaking bottom, and y'all praising this shit. And then when scholars come along and say some shit you don't like, you want to go report and take their damn channel down like some fucking children. Y'all rebel against the actual adults who actually pay the fuck attention, and then y'all want to get mad when shit don't go your way. You want to get mad because you still in the hood. You want to get mad when people don't want to come back and help that punk ass community. The same community that'll whoop a nigga ass for being too fucking smart. You motherfuckers is stupid. This shit don't make no goddamn sense. Like, even the Bible talked about shit like this. Like, at one point, people will hate the truth and love the lies. It's got to stop. It has got to stop. You figure, like, people will wake up after y'all elected this damn dummy who put plenty of people behind bars, but y'all, you put plenty of black folks behind bars. and y'all let that shit ride. A white man telling you about your blackness, and you made this man the president. Okay. I guess it makes sense to a certain point. I mean, somebody had to explain it to me. I mean, if you had a good reasoning for wanting Trump out, then no problem. But there were there were 6 other options at one point of people who probably could have ran that office a little bit better than Trump. Or ran that office, definitely ran that office better than Biden. For what we got, I think you should have left that man in office. For what we got, should have left that man in office. The damage that man is doing is going to be irreparable he didn't undo anything that he was told to do. Nothing. Y'all wanted him to undo all of Trump's policies, which actually are good policies. It's just because y'all don't like him because he's an asshole. Y'all have been trained to hate men who exhibit certain traits. Supposed to be nice, supposed to be super friendly, and so forth. You're the leader of the free world with nukes at your disposal. You're supposed to be a nice guy? Nah, you're supposed to be strong for your people. You're supposed to be down for your people. Who gives a shit about anybody else in the world as long as we can get along? Just know my dick's bigger and I will fuck you if you give me the chance. And that's the way we need to be. Past presidents, I think, were a lot tougher than what we get now. I mean, that's the way Bush was. He may not seem tough, but Bush was actually a tough motherfucker, though. He didn't hesitate to fuck people up. Like, granted, they lied and got us to the Iraq War, and that's, that kind of screwed up the trust between the people and the government in the first place. I mean, but you can't go back and change the past. I mean, you can just remember, I ain't falling for that shit again, and just keep it moving. But when it comes to the hood and everything black folks are going through in this country, I think that the train of thought and the ability to think has slowly been bred out of black people. I think it has. When you got a majority of black folks continuing the same bullshit over and over and over, you have to think, like, how does that keep happening? The brightest don't get to procreate because we don't have any family structure anymore. Gone are the days where you want your daughter to marry the best available out here. Now you're like, you better find you an athlete. Find you a man with money. Find, a finished product. And the sad part is they're mostly older men. But the black community don't want to hear that. Y'all look down upon age gap dating, and it's gotten so bad it's affected the rest of society. There used to always be age gap dating. Matter of fact, don't even call it age gap dating. Call it age gap courting. Where if you as a man didn't have your shit together, you cannot come for my daughter. And the men of the time vetted the men who were allowed to court his daughter. But because women didn't like that arrangement, now it's a problem. It started with white women. Black men and women used to be married at a rate of 80%. Up into the 70s. I went back and looked at it. Up into the 1970s. And then something happened. You had the civil rights movement. You had the women's sexual liberation coupled with feminism during the civil rights era. And then the effects started showing up shortly after the 1970s. So now that women can work, They could choose, they can do whatever the hell they wanted, and men had to just accept it. The situation has gotten worse. Children actually grew up in households where they had two parents at one point. And now we're doing the opposite. Now you get one parent because women wanted to go to work. And the common excuse that I hear from a lot of folks is simply this. Well, if he has a bunch of kids and leave them high and dry and this, that, and the third. Look, all that child support shit, that shit also happened in the 70s. So there's no excuse for it now. They had welfare programs back then. I want you to look at a documentary called The Vanishing Black Family. And in that documentary, you can just see the dumb all over these chicks' face. When you have a mother whose mom taught her to be on welfare, teaching these girls in this video look to be about anywhere between 13 to 16. 13 to 16. So when you got folks from 13 to 16, right, and they having babies, this was in the 80s in that documentary, the children from that system, the children from that time are today's either grandparents, soon to be grandparents. They're older. I was born in the 80s. Some of the folks I went to school with, kids got kids already. And we barely crossed 40. And that's the same thing that happened with them. And yet, when men in the manosphere talk about it, it's a problem. When you highlight the reason why we're so fucking dumb, it's a problem. I'm saying we for a reason, because collectively we have failed. But it's only now within the last, 20 years that it's women leading the charge. And let me step off on the sidebar for a second. I am so sick of some of these bitches. And yes, I'm going to use the word bitches, because it takes a real bitch to espouse something that you don't know the definition of and try to beat men over the head with it. And the word I'm going to say is called leadership. Most of you using the fucking word have no idea what leadership actually means. Most of you who use the word have never had any leadership training. Most of you are repeating what another smarter chick said. Because it seems like every time I get online, I see one of these stupid ass videos for one of you ignorant ass bitches. And the reason why I'm calling you ignorant, because the word actually fits. Stupid always fits. When I jump on the live, and leave myself a note here. When I jump on the live, I'm going to leave y'all some notes and definitions of what a lot of these words mean. Because unless somebody gives you the actual definition, a lot of y'all won't look it up. Or you'll use the definition, but don't understand that there's more to it than just a definition. See, when the Manosphere came about, those were intellectual brothers. They dropped a lot of knowledge, definitions. They pulled up stats. They were pulling up studies, everything, things that can be fleshed out. You can't even debunk this shit because it's all in the numbers. The first thing they tried to do was say, oh, that study is old. But guess what? Those children of that time are you people today. are you people today? So that's the importance of studies. If a study is more than 50 years old, then I kind of see you trying to disprove it, looking for a newer study. But either way you look at it, when you look into these studies, you got to think about the people of that period. Who do they study? Who are the people they actually study? Because the study is 50 years old, it means they studied your grandparents or great-grandparents. And look at what your grandparents left you. Look at the conditions that your grandparents were in. That would tell you a lot about how people think and act today. In that documentary, The Vanishing Black Family, the babies in those pictures in that daggone documentary, that's you. That's you. And the ladies in that damn documentary, that's your mama. The ignorant ass dudes in there making babies all over the place, your grandfather. So when they say Papa was a Rolling Stone, got it. But the truth of the matter is, men can't do anything that women won't let men do. Back then in the 80s, what was going on? You had robbing, stealing, drug dealing. The crack epidemic. Hell, some of y'all run around today, the reason why it's so fucking dumb is because you're a crack baby. Because truth be told, it was mostly black women doing the fucking drugs. So you don't know whether you're a product of a drug addict or not. Some of y'all was raised by your grandmother. And if you were raised by your grandmother, I wonder why. Because mama was on crack, and rather than put you up for adoption, grandma stepped in, got the welfare check, all the support checks, and left your mama on the streets. Hell, for all you know, maybe she didn't even tell you that she's not your real mom. There's a couple of those stories running around too. There's a couple of those people running around too. Because I know a few. Finding out that their grandparents were they were being raised by their grandparents instead of their regular parents. You know, I can go on and on and on about how stupid black folks have become. I mean, but it's easier once I get back to my computer and I can actually show you some of the dumbass arguments that they try to have with me and going back and forth. As a matter of fact, before I forget, one of the arguments that the latest argument has been about the whole Black Panther movie. Like, right now I'm kind of driving. I know y'all can hear that in the background. But the whole Black Panther movie ordeal. So, I watched the trailer. And I watched it. I've tried to slow it down, watch it again, see what I can pull out of the trailer. They're very careful in the trailer not to give you too many clues. Okay? If you look at the last few seconds of the teaser trailer that they dropped, the first teaser trailer, where it shows Naaman, or whatever the fuck his name is, kneeling, or he's down or whatever. And in the foreground, you can see what appears to be the Black Panther suit. Now, I compared the still shot image at 4K to the very end of the first Black Panther movie. I even pulled up a shot of T'Challa and Killmonger's fight scene just to show the difference. Now, we know that a lot of the shit in the movie is CGI. They did a really good job of it. The last time they did it. I mean, even though it did look a little weird in the first movie. So when you look at this shot, the only thing you can really see of the Black Panther, you can kind of see the gold and black. Okay? Now, it could be gold and black for one or two reasons. That could be Killmonger's suit, or it could have been an adaptation of Killmonger's suit. But out of respect for the T'Challa, they did not use black and purple. Okay? That was T'Challa's thing. I don't know. See, even I want to say even his father used black and gold, but T'Challa used black and purple, I think. I got to go back and look at it. But if you look at the build on the individual wearing the Black Panther suit, that leg does not look like a male leg. Now, I've stared at this thing. Pause. Pause. I've stared at this thing, studied it, went back, looked at the film. That leg is nowhere near as muscular as Killmonger or T'Challa's leg in that fight scene. In the suit. And if you look at the hips and if you kind of see the layout of the hips, it lets you know that's a female. It's female. Marvel almost got away with it, but if they had never showed the fucking leg or the lower half of the body, you would never see it. Now, I went to one content creator and I was watching their video to see what they thought about the trailer. And I happened upon a few comments. I typed a few of mine. But I totally disagree with his point of view. This individual has 300,000 subs, 330,000 subs, and he didn't read the comic book. Y'all know what I'm talking. He's a financial advisor to black folk. But he didn't read the comic book, and you can tell. This dude was purely a nerd. And you can tell he's a fucking nerd. You can tell he's a nerd. Or at least I can tell he's a nerd. You can tell he didn't read the comic. I've only read like a handful of the Black Panther comics when I was little. You know, you couldn't afford to buy all these comic books. Like, I can go get the Marvel subscription and read them all now. But I could not afford all those comics back then. Even when they were like 99 cents, $1 is about around the time when I got into them, $1.10 or so. You know, I would find them here and there at like when people had yard sales, and I would pay whatever the price they put on it. I got a few Conan comic books. So how old I am, kind of dating myself a little bit. But you could tell when people try to give a review and they haven't really paid attention to the first movie. If people had known about the first movie, known the comic before they made the first movie, they would have probably did the first movie a little bit better. I mean, that's just my opinion. But moving back to this new one, to the new movie, this guy was giving his opinion and he got it totally wrong. He got it totally and completely wrong. So when people started making their comments about it, people kind of tried to dogpile on him. Like, oh no, it was a great trailer. Didn't address any of the shit that the man said in his comment. But the consensus is this, and a lot of black men agree. You got multiple 007s. You got multiple Supermans, Batman. Hell, I think they recast the Green Lantern as somebody else. Who else was I thinking about that they recast? They recast a bunch of characters in major blockbuster films, and yet when it comes to Marvel cannot get their head out of their ass. So instead of saying that they couldn't recast him, they didn't do that. They wrote his actual death in real life into the story. That doesn't happen very often. And even if they did, they can resurrect the character whenever they choose, right? But we all know that's not going to happen. So instead of resurrecting the character, instead of recasting the character, rather, you throw a black woman in there. Okay? They did that, I think, just to suit their agenda, to be honest. And it kind of pisses me off that black men can't have shit. Every time black men do something, there's always black women thrown into the mix to save the black man. You don't see that shit anywhere else. They won't allow it in 007, where the chick saves 007. They don't allow it. They didn't allow it in any other movie concerning white men, because white men ain't about to deal with that shit. They're like, nah, fuck that. Lois Lane ain't never helped Superman. Never. But here we are. Black man dies. Instead, look, let's get a sister to do it. Just so you can get your 2 chips from affirmative action. Get your tax break on. Cast the new Black Panther as a woman. If you don't have a problem with that, I don't know what to tell you, but let me articulate it some more. Let me put it to you this way. There are plenty of young brothers who could play the role. There are plenty of young brothers who have yet to be discovered who could play the role. So what does that tell us? That they didn't they didn't cast. They just simply didn't want to cast it. They didn't want to cast it. It also tells you that what we've been saying, what a lot of young actors have been saying about gatekeeping, is also true. You ever notice that the same old black folks are in every effing movie? Did it not dawn on you that the black elites are gatekeeping? And who are the black elites? The black elites are people like, I don't know, Viola Davis. I go back and look at Monique's interview, where she talked about, just dropped my microphone. Monique's interview, she talked about being in the room with all these powerful black women. Oprah, Viola Davis, I'm missing a few names here and there. But it's the same old people. And if you think Oprah don't control shit that go on in Hollywood, you got another thing coming. You're talking about a billionaire woman with her own fucking network that nobody gave her so she can do whatever the fuck she wants. Now, she has some power. You got some people in Hollywood, they have some power. Angry Man did another live stream where he talked about how sick he was of seeing that old, ugly motherfucker and all these other old ass, ugly black. And it didn't dawn on me until he said that. That we have a huge number of black women in Hollywood, but only the ugly ones get through. I mean, look, this is my opinion, but if you're ugly, right? If you're ugly, you have nothing else to do but focus on your craft. You got to pick a struggle and focus on it. Hold on, let me get my badge out. man, just because I'm on my way to work. This shit is funny as hell to me. Oh man. Morning. Cool. I'm not the first one here today. But nah, I just think this shit is hilarious. I think it's absolutely funny that the big Hollywood, and I think black women should be outraged by this as well. You give the biggest star roles of black women to the ugliest of black women, and y'all expect dudes to be happy about that. Y'all expect dudes to be happy about that. I think you motherfuckers is funny. I think this shit is hilarious. I mean, more guys would come out to see a movie if the chicks were fine. But have you noticed as of late that a lot of chicks in these spaces, have are ugly as shit, and they help you out a lot. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I gotta move my power supply because my recorder's picking up all this damn noise on the lines. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help. Try not to accidentally unplug everything too. There we go. Definitely gonna put my sunshade up. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put my sunshade up when I when I stop. See how long I've been going. 30 minutes in. But what I really, really, really want to say, is that, like, just straight up, like, I think a lot of the shit that we do is pure stupidity. It's not founded in anything. It's not grounded in anything. I mean, there's no point into half the shit that we do. It really isn't. Like, we can go in on the black community all day. I got content for days because ain't shit changed. Nothing. The best and brightest of us are shunned. The ones who try to exhibit some sort of class and ask people to do better are talked about. Like, you can't win. You can't win. And it's a damn shame. And I don't know what it's going to take for black people to realize it. Like, I think, me personally, I think the community is done. I think it's done. I think that a whole lot of people are going to have to die off before things get better. And then the folks that's left over need not bring shit from the past. I was telling my brother, this was a few years ago. Prime example. This may be anecdotal experience to some of you, but then when I went to one of the private black pages on Facebook, you would be amazed at how many people agree with it. Because I had to ask the question there too. And I'm not going to name it here because I've since left that page. I mean, I think I'm still part of the page, but I kind of hide their notifications. I check in every once in a while just to see what's going on and to see what's new, what new fuckery is afoot. You know, you just got to stay up on these things just so you have something to talk about. And yeah, still same old, same old. Where I think a lot of our conversations go is because they often get taken over by black feminist talking points. Okay, if you don't know anything about black feminism, that shit started in the 70s. It really did. There are plenty of books written on it, going as far back as the 70s. I think some of the books that I saw were originated in the 60s, and yet they take the same points and go over them over and over and over, using these old boogeyman as arguments, old boogeyman like straw man arguments, really. Because when you take them apart and you debunk them, they just change the language and then rewrite the same shit and publish it again. And then they never mention the numbers, or they skew small numbers of the overall picture. For example, they say a black woman is killed with like every 4 hours, and then one day I heard every 3, every 5, and so forth, right? But the math, and then when you look at the and where I think they extrapolated that from was they were saying for a certain period, they were saying that's almost the rate of one black woman every 5 hours. But they didn't tell you, and that's the part they left out for this particular period. This is what happened. That's the part that gets left off. And the only thing people hear is one every 4 to 5 hours. Now, if you bared that out and did the math, there are thousands of hours per year. And you divide that by 5, and that would give you the number of black women who get killed. And then when you go to the FBI crime data and statistics, go to that part of the website, and you look at the total number of homicides of black women, those numbers are extremely off. Don't even add up to that rate. But people only hear that one part and they take it and run with it. Now, why did I say that? I say that because you get a lot of men who hear this shit all their lives to the point where they believe it. They believe it to be the gospel. So they espouse the same shit that these black feminists have been saying, and they contribute to the conversation in the same way. So all everyone hears from majority of people, because no one's fleshing out these damn statistics and data, so therefore it must be true since everybody's saying it. Make sense? And that's the part people fail to realize. If you say it enough times, you speak it. Then you get some people that, if you say things enough times, you've spoken it into existence. Which is wrong, which shouldn't be allowed, period. Instead, talking points need to be valid. There has to be some sort of substance to it. We've been gaslit for so long that nobody knows what the truth is anymore. And then when you tell them the truth, people don't want to hear it because they've heard things done a certain way for so long. The programming is deep, especially in the black community. The programming is deep. It's gotten so bad that you got young ladies who have yet to hang on, I'm sending a text message to my wife. It's gotten so bad that the lie is the truth, and no matter what men say, we're always wrong. Black men are the proverbial boogeyman of everybody's dreams. And what I've come to realize, and shout out to Angry Man, late Kevin Samuels, Obsidian, Grinch, and a host of others who've pointed this out, that a lot of the shit they say sound like white supremacist talking points. And as if that ain't sad enough, we have to live with that every single day. I want y'all to go back and ask your grandmother a question. Who was your grandfather? A lot of them won't even answer the question, or they look at you like you're crazy. I want you to ask the question, see if you get the answers. And then I want you to look and observe what's going on. You got Big Mama's house, Grandma's house, right? What did Grandma do for a living? I mean, seriously, ask her what does she do for a living? She got this house, and before she retired or started working, what did she do all her life? See, when Grandma was coming up, black women were only allowed to do certain jobs. They lived through the 60s. Or they were born in the 60s. At that time, there was still only certain things available to them. So ask them, how did they afford that big ass house on a salary for a job that didn't make a whole lot of money? If you ask about it. See, my grandfather worked for the state. Grandma had a big ass house. They had a lot of cars and shit like that. But over the years after he died, he disappeared from the picture. All the women quit talking about him, quit even mentioning anything about him. And then when you have family reunions and stuff like that, nobody even says a word. But they'll talk about how great Big Mama was, how great Gran was, how great she is. Meanwhile, you as a man are looking for inspiration and things to aspire to. You don't even know who your grandfather is as a person. You only seen him like when you was younger, from the visits and family reunions like prior to his death, and that a lot of the money that grandma has came from him, his pension, whatever he left behind. They won't even mention it. As soon as he died, everything went to grandma. And when grandma died, everybody's fighting over what grandma had. It's sad. And then you get to the generation grandma's kids, all broken homes. She tried to hold. I would say she tried to hold the line the best she could. But that generation of women, our mothers, some of them may have gotten married. Most of them are divorced. And you're sitting there asking why. You don't know who your father is. Don't know who your grandfather is. But you're supposed to grow into this man that your mother told you who to be. When obviously she didn't know how to pick a man in the first place. She don't know what a man is, what he's about. It took me... Hang on, fucking alarm. It took me going to the military to figure out what real men were about. Because I was surrounded by nothing but men. A lot of these men didn't have fathers either. But you learned about leadership, working with other men, how to get shit done. And that's what men are about. Half the definitions they throw out today don't hold a candle to what I've learned in the military. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there.